Hello everyone, my name is Olivia, and today I wanted to recommend you a list of movies for the girls who yearn. Like the famous Seinfeld quote, I also love to yearn, and it is something that I love to post about on my Instagram. People love sending me yearning memes, and I am a big yearner, so I thought I have the qualifications to recommend a list of movies that are perfect for people who yearn. Let's get right into it. The first movie that I have to recommend for people who love to yearn is Little Women 2019. Little Women is probably one of my favorite movies when discussing longing because it has so many different aspects of longing. Not only does it explore romantic longing, but it also explores longing for a career, to be recognized, to be an artist, longing to be a mother, to have a family, longing to even keep your family close-knit. Each of those different aspects of want is explored in this movie. The way the movie's even shot is so beautiful and invokes that feeling of yearning, and there are multiple speeches throughout this film that discuss the different desires that these girls want in their life. With Amy's famous speech about longing to marry someone rich in order to make a name for herself, and also Joe's speech about women and their place in society and how we long for so much more than just romantic love. There's so many different ways that Little Women explores desire and longing, and I love the way that they're all melted together, so each one has their own moment in the film, and it doesn't just feel like a romantic film. It feels so much more than that. It explores so many different aspects of life, and I think that this is Greta Gerwig's best film, and she really captures the essence of being a young woman who just wants everything in the world. Another movie that explores yearning through a very unique outlet is Her. Her stars Joaquin Phoenix, who is a very lonely person who strikes up a relationship with an artificial intelligence who he eventually falls in love with, and the way that this movie explores yearning for connection is so deeply unique and fascinating because we not only touch upon the absolute loneliness that one can have and the way that you feel so disconnected from everyone else, but we also explore the connection between a man and artificial intelligence and what that connection can entail. Can it really connect with a human the way that you would connect with someone else in a relationship, whether it be romantic or a friendship or a familial relationship? It explores a really unique type of love that we've never really seen before, and whether or not you truly can fall in love with a robot. And the way that this movie is filmed is so quiet. It primarily uses red hues to evoke this feeling of love, even though it feels deeply artificial. And this one's probably the most unique movie that I've seen where it deals with a yearning, because what are you truly yearning for? Are you yearning for this AI that you fall in love with, or are you just yearning for the ability to feel seen? Another movie that struck a chord with me and made me absolutely fall in love is Atonement. Atonement is a movie directed by Joe Wright, who also directed Pride and Prejudice, and he is the king of yearning. I truly think he is our best director to evoke this feeling of longing and desire and intimacy through the simplest ways. Atonement not only is a stunning movie to see, its cinematography is unlike anything I've ever seen before, and the actors really bring these characters to life in the best and worst ways possible. But Atonement has this heavy feeling of desire that's just out of your reach, and you as the audience member are reaching forward in your seat, hoping that these characters eventually get what they want out of life. And the way that Joe Wright explores intimacy and explores this attraction between these two characters is absolutely stunning. I've grown to really appreciate his use of hands in his movies, the way that hands can evoke so much emotion, and the way that hands bring us together and keep us apart and have us reaching towards something that we want in our own grasp. And it's such a beautiful film, and I think that Atonement is probably my saddest movie on this list. It will definitely make you emotional, and Joe Wright, my man, he really knows how to make a romance movie. My goodness. The next movie completely altered my brain chemistry with its cinematography, its music, its outfits, everything about it, and it's Call Me By Your Name. Call Me By Your Name was a moment in history for me and my best friend. We always talk about the Call Me By Your Name era, where we first saw the movie together and then we both read the book. And the way that this movie is shot and its setting and its overall tone is absolutely stunning and something that I think about on a daily basis because I feel like a lot of people dream about living in the Italian countryside during a summer and falling in love, and that's essentially what Call Me by Your Name is about. But the way that it's shot is so luscious and so colorful and so full of longing, similar to that of Atonement. And these two characters are sharing really subtle touches and really quiet conversations behind closed doors, and the way that that is explored through this film is stunning. And the use of nature and color really brings a story to life, and it always makes me want to watch other movies that have similar vibes where people are just hanging out, they're not doing much with their lives, they're just having conversations, they're connecting with each other, and it's such an idealized version of what you wish your summer could be if you didn't have a job. And I do think this is one of Timothée Chalamet's best roles because he's really good at being emotional, and you feel for him and you ache for him and you feel that ache that he has for Oliver. And I think that's one of the vital things for a movie about yearning. You need to have a relationship that can never just come together. You need to have some force in the world that they're in that keeps them apart, that keeps them across the room staring at each other and keeps them longing, because that's what builds the excitement and builds the desire. And the way that it is executed in Call Me by Your Name is gorgeous. A recent movie that came out that explores longing in the best way possible is Past Lives. Past Lives is another stunning film with beautiful cinematography and stunning conversations as it explores these two characters who were once friends with each other and then reconnect when their lives are vastly different, but they still have this unspoken desire for one another, and also begin to wonder what their lives could have been like if they had actually gotten together. You get to witness their growth, their reconnection once they find each other, and the way that they form this new friendship that originated when they were kids and changed so much as adults. There's so many different ways you can break down that story, and I think it would make such a phenomenal literary fiction novel, and it will really live in your heart long after you finish it. Bringing it back to Joe Wright, let's talk about Pride and Prejudice. Pride and Prejudice is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's on my top 4 on Letterboxd, and it is a perfect book to movie adaptation. I will not be arguing with the BBC Pride and Prejudice girls. I don't care if it's more accurate to the book. This movie is one of the most beautiful movies ever filmed in the history of cinema, okay? It has a iconic soundtrack that I listen to on a weekly basis. It has beautiful sets and beautiful costumes, and the dialogue and the way that these actors bring these characters to life is so deeply iconic. I feel like it will transcend our own lives and be talked about for generations upon generations. Pride and Prejudice is a beautiful movie. It's a classic movie about people from two very different walks of life who don't want to fall in love but eventually succumb to that feeling of yearning that they have for one another. And one of my favorite scenes in Pride and Prejudice is the moment when Elizabeth and Darcy are dancing together, and they are in their heads and in their longing so much that the entire ballroom disappears and it's just them dancing together, and that really evokes the yearning that one can have for another person and how the whole world slips away when that person's in the room. And Joe Wright has so many iconic moments in this film, like the hand touch scene, and Joe Wright captures the essence of yearning so well in so many simple ways, and I just love this movie so much. If you have not seen Pride and Prejudice, you have to go see it. It is absolutely beautiful. It also feels like a painting come to life. Like if I could frame Pride and Prejudice and put it in the Met, I would. Every single shot is stunning. Every single aspect of this movie is stunning, and it captures so much of the romance between Lizzie and Darcy, and their yearning for one another is so palpable on screen. And I can talk about this movie for hours upon hours, but I will not. Just know it's one of the best movies when it comes to yearning. The next movie I have to recommend doesn't necessarily focus around romance the way that other films have on this list, and it's 20th Century Women. 20th Century Women follows an older single mother who is raising her teenage son and enlists the help of her roommates in the very large house that they live in to help raise her son in a community type of atmosphere so they can all impart their own wisdom onto the son and he can be a really well-rounded person. 20th Century Women is an interesting film compared to all the other films that I mentioned before because it doesn't necessarily center around romance. It centers around community and identity and what it's like to be a mother raising a teenage son in a time period that is so different from the one that she grew up in, and how each generation really differs from the next and they all have their different ideals and their different desires, and this is really the exploration of identity rather than romance, and each character has something that they're longing for and you really explore their different journeys that they go on throughout this film. And I think it's a beautiful film because it feels so deeply human, it feels so authentic in a way and relatable, and it's a heartwarming type of film that makes you appreciate the human connection and a community that is willing to help raise a son, and how rare that feels today and how that connection inevitably changes their life. Another movie that is so beautiful is In the Mood for Love. I saw this originally with my Cinebun Club on my Discord, and we watch a new movie every single month, and it's a really fun club that anyone is free to join, and we saw In the Mood for Love for 1 month, and it is a beautiful, just gorgeous film about these two neighbors whose partners are cheating on them, and they eventually come together and form this connection over this shared infidelity that they are facing, and how they form this relationship that is so full of yearning that changes their lives forever. This is set in Hong Kong in the 1960s, so we do have these beautiful costumes that I just could not stop marveling at, and the colors are so vibrant, and I do think that they reflect the burning desire that these two characters have for one another, because red is also used a lot in this film. It evokes this passion and romance that these two characters have, even though they hardly ever touch, and it's only these really quiet conversations behind closed doors that makes you kind of lean forward to learn a little bit more about their relationship, to learn a little bit more about them. In the Mood for Love is a beautiful film and I cannot recommend it enough. One of the softest films that I can recommend on this list is Amélie, and this is a beautiful, very cozy French movie about this woman named Amélie and the connections that she forms with people in her town and the romance that blossoms between her and a stranger. And the way that this movie unfolds is so cute. It's a lot more lighthearted than other films on this list, and it has this really unique hue to it that I haven't seen in other films before. Amelie's just a very soft character, and she's always longing, she's always yearning, and I think she's a really relatable character because she feels like a softer version of Jo March, who romanticizes so many different aspects of her life, and Amelie is always longing for something more. And the movie itself is just a really sweet and touching movie, and it's quirky and it's cute, and this one's also a little bit different from the other films because the longing isn't as palpable and the romance isn't the true center of the film. The true center of the film is Amelie and what she desires and the different dreams that she has and the connections that she wants to form along the way. And the last movie that I have to recommend is Shakespeare in Love, which I did not know won Best Picture at the Oscars one year, but it did. And you know what? Rightfully deserved, because this movie is such an inaccurate take on Shakespeare, but it is done in such a way that leaves you longing. It fills you full of desire. And this follows an affair between Shakespeare and an actress, and it is so delicious. Joseph Fiennes, that man embodies Shakespeare in a way that feels like a little bit too salacious, a little bit too delicious, some may say. Like, he should not be so good at being suave, but he is. And when you watch him on screen, you're like, wait a second, like, am I also falling in love with Shakespeare? Yes, you are. And the whole forbidden aspect of this love in the movie is what makes this movie so full of yearning that I love to see in films. And I haven't seen Shakespeare in Love in a while, but this makes me want to rewatch it because because I can just remember the feeling that it evoked from me and the way that I too was yearning for Shakespeare. And it was a great film. I loved it. Highly recommend. Highly recommend all of these films. Some are happier than others. Some explore not only romantic relationships, but this yearning for something more in life. And I love the way that you can explore so many different aspects of yearning. You can be yearning for human connection, for community. You can be yearning for a specific type of career or aspiration, or you could be yearning for a relationship. And the way that these films explore it in so many different ways is absolutely beautiful. These are some of the prettiest movies I've seen as well, because I think if you create a movie about yearning, you have to really evoke that through the setting and through the cinematography and through the subtleness that are woven through these films. And let me know if there are any other films that you would recommend that have this beautiful feeling of yearning, because I would love to add more to my list. Let me know if you want to see the same type of video but with books, because I have a lot of books about yearning that I would love to recommend on this channel. If you have not followed me anywhere else on social media like Instagram and TikTok, I'm over there too, and I post stuff that you won't see here. If you stayed this far in the video, leave a heart of your choice in the comments so we can see who stays for the longest in all my videos, and let me know what is your favorite movie that deals with yearning and longing and a deep desire for something more. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in another one very soon. Bye!